Welcome back, dear listener. My name is Abel, and this is the Rava podcast where we are dedicated to expanding the collective mind by sharing our thoughts and experiences in hopes that we find healing and give ourselves a permission to embody who we truly are. Thank you for joining me on another episode. Today is a doozy, so I hope that you're ready. I started scripting today's episode by diving into the depths of my grief. I really wanted to offer y'all a good ass time, a good ass episode, but my life recently has been a well of sadness, and no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to scrape the barrel of optimism for a morsel of shining light for you. But I will in the future, I promise. There is a rhythm to life after all, and the deeper your sorrows, the greater your joy. It's just now a matter of patience and gratitude. It won't be any less or any more than you expect. It'll be just what your body needs to release. For today, it is this grief. So recently we put down our 18-year-old dog, and it feels just like you think it would. Or maybe some of y'all are like, oh my gosh, she's lived for so long. She must have had a good life. You had 18 years of her. And while I can appreciate that, usually the girls that come up and are trying to direct the conversation away from too much emotional engagement are either emotionally constipated or have never lost a pet in their life. It is one of the deepest pains that you will feel. And please don't be offended when I call you emotionally constipated, because it's probably true, especially if you got a little defensive. And if anyone can call you out, it's me. I tend to be emotionally constipated as well. And for those of you who have yet to experience such sadness, I don't envy you. The first time you encounter the reality of losing a pet, it's a feeling like you have lost a part of yourself. Like you yourself have been torn asunder. In many ways, you have been. We personify and extend ourselves into our pets to such a degree that it feels like our brain can't accept the tragedy of death that has fallen on this being that we have given our all to. And I do mean that this angel that has become an unconditional mirror of joy and love for you in your life, that has been with you through thick and motherfucking thin, is now gone. So reasonably, I've been trembling with sorrow about Miss Bucci, that was her name, and she was a stereotypical white, crusty puppy that Latinos and Asians alike love. You know the ones that I'm talking about. However, my dog wasn't crusty, so let's get that straight from the jump. She was a hard and mischievous, hungry bitch, and I took care of her for a long while before I left home for university. My most vivid memory when she first stepped into our lives was banging on the glass of the vet's front desk screaming for those assholes to save her from a parvo infection she was suffering from, an infection that most dogs don't survive. While I was holding her, the light in her eyes was dimming, and I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I didn't demand that they stop neglecting our dog and take her in. She did come home to us a week later, having won the battle against the infection. So, it was only fitting that when the time came for her to be brought out of our home for the last time, that it was me who carried her across the threshold. But this time, I wasn't screaming, and there was no glass at the vet's office to bang out my frustration and my hopelessness. And she wasn't coming back this time. In her later years, I was a distant presence in her life, but fuck, I still loved her deeply. I didn't know until now that her constant presence was the reassurance that my family life remained unchanged and familiar. Her departure is the last chapter in the book that my family has been writing for a very long time. It's now time for a new chapter, a new life, and hopefully, through this grief, new opportunities for us all for healing. Before we continue to the episode, I wanted to ask you to please subscribe, like, and comment. Share this episode with those who you think need it. And please stick around at the end of the episode where I created a little something with my mom and my sister to honor Miss Bucci. Thank you again. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now, let's dive into it. I have been through so much grief in the last 2 years. I have lost friendships, family members. I have lost a sense of self and identity that was admittedly holding me back and stuck in an older version of myself. But I have a hard time letting go. I have a hard time saying goodbye. And in these 2 years, I've grown accustomed to saying so many goodbyes. I have grown to understand the language that grief speaks. Well, somewhat. I don't claim to be an expert because the language that grief speaks isn't a coherent one, really. But if you allow yourself to learn to move through the motions of grief, you learn to let it flow through you as it comes, and you don't hold on to it. Don't be a sucker for punishment now, because that's not what it's meant for. Grief is meant to flow through you and remind you of your humanity. In those brief beginnings, where grief is the strongest, the grand suffering that you experience reminds you of the mortality that we will all inevitably face. For a moment, you are the truest essence of yourself that you will ever be. For a moment, you are touched by the truth. For a moment, you are free. The strange thing about grief is that we don't all process it the same way, but we all do have to process it and let it through. There's no helping you when it fills you, and there's no telling you how long it will stay. So, all you can do is let it in, and let it teach you about yourself the things that you will never learn without this pain. Without this suffering, we are empty. We are shells, experiencing only the falsehoods of light without its darker counterparts. Grief, as unwelcome as it may be, brings you clarity. It reveals your humanity to yourself. As the tears stream down your beautiful face, grief waters you, and it brings you closer to the remembrance of who you truly are. That you are human after all. That you are not only your strength, but your pains too. And that you need to be held and comforted just like everybody else. I haven't always had this outlook on grief. I have grown accustomed and comfortable with the act of suppressing the emotions that I have been programmed to categorize as negative or unproductive. And if you're like me, this suppression is a silent assassin that is eating you up like a flesh-eating bacteria. It destroys you and your energetic body, and can only be cured if you open the gates and let the feelings wash over you. The continual denial of your emotional body is discouraged. If you are ever to free yourself from the torture of never expressing your darkest emotions. And that is a lesson I am still learning. Giving myself the permission to feel my feelings. Not just anger, not just self-righteousness, but the pain, the sadness, all without judging them. It's been a monumental task that I confront every single day. We have grown so accustomed to shutting out our emotions that we, as a collective, don't know what to do when someone you love bursts into tears in front of you. Let you be in a male body and cry in public and watch how people are beside themselves. I have never felt lonelier as a man than when I have expressed my sadness, my grief, my pain. I find that I have to ask to be held and comforted, which is a little weird, you know? It doesn't come naturally to the people around me, unfortunately. And I've been letting myself cry in public for a couple years now. And I've gotten so comfortable at crying that Through feeling those feelings, I've been able to then observe people's reactions when I do let myself cry in front of them. And it's sad that it's unsettling to see men cry. Men need the relief of crying now more than ever. Seriously. Side note, if you are male identifying and you're struggling with crying and being in tune with your emotions, the first step is to acknowledge it and to understand how it is that you suppress it. Work to release some of it. Let yourself cry. If it comes up, let it happen. It will help you immensely on your journey of becoming. I say this as someone who struggles with the same thing. I believe that we need to embrace, as a collective, our need to cry and learn how to hold space for the entire range of our emotions, not just the ones that we have decided are appropriate, and maintain social normality. In times of grief, especially if it's grief that's being experienced with your family, you start to truly understand how people have been taught to deal, or not, with their grief. When you allow yourself to feel and you let those feelings flow from an honest place, you then become a mirror and you're able to understand where others suppress themselves. You may receive from others an unconscious impulse to subvert the moment by suggesting you look at the bright side, or search for some other morsel of optimism that really isn't there. Anything to bring back the moments undisturbed by these loaded emotions that you're letting yourself feel. I think that we do this so that we ultimately don't confront our own grief, our own sadness. We are so quick to run away from discomfort instead of sitting in it and letting the feelings pass through us. Again, and I've been saying this a lot on this episode, I know because I'm the same way. I wouldn't be able to reflect on this if it weren't my experience. The more in tune with my emotional body that I have been, the harder it has become to close that gate and to continue to suppress my heart center. It has opened my heart and my eyes, and has shown me a world I can no longer unsee. And you know what? The idea that we're supposed to distance ourselves from our emotions, it's a lie. Our emotions are our greatest gift. Grief reveals your humanity. Sadness liberates your soul. The trick is to not hold on to these emotions, not even joy. Emotions are fleeting, and they're meant to be. They color the world we perceive with meaning, but we must never hold on to them. That defeats the purpose of presence, of living. I have found freedom when I have surrendered and leaned into my emotional body. It holds the secret to all of you. As a collective, as a humanity, we have evolved our consciousness to a level that requires us to be mindful of our emotional body just as much as we have to be aware of our physical one. We spend hours optimizing our bodies, our beauty, our finances. Why would we ignore the part of us that requires more watering than ever before? We really have to get comfortable with discomfort. Deadass. Convenience, comfort, and familiarity are all destroying your sense of self and ultimately disconnecting you from you and the ones that you love. What do you think happens when you don't feel your emotions and you just lock them up? What do you think happens when you rely on the crutch that the patriarchy has offered you and you continue to compartmentalize another one of your feelings to be processed for another indefinite timeline? Do you think it just evaporates? Poof, that's it. That shit is being held by your emotional body. And your emotional body is connected to the energy centers of your spirit. Do you think that years, decades, a lifetime of emotional suppression or compartmentalization isn't in some way going to cause anything? That it is not going to cause disease? That you will be unscathed by it? It's sad to say, but I believe that you're wrong. That chronic health condition that came out of nowhere, you think it was fate or chance that happened to create it? Maybe you think it was just genetics. Sure. I believe that although we have a genetic predisposition to certain diseases, it's truly our emotional and mental state that decides our health outcomes at the end of the day. It was probably those unprocessed emotions that you were still holding from when your dad called you a fag when you were just a child that are causing havoc within you, waiting to be processed through you. Your emotions are meant to help you live the fullness of this humanity you decided to live. They hold the key to liberate yourself from your ego and from the construct that we have all collectively decided to create. What beautiful relief I have found on the other side of pain. How much clearer the mind is when the heart is allowed the freedom to embody all that it feels. You will discover many beautiful and ugly matters of yourself when you are open enough to feel it, to grieve the parts of yourself that you thought were true as you shed them. It is through painful grief that we honor ourselves fully, that we learn that the world is humanity, that the moments left unappreciated are illuminated and are no longer neglected. Grief offers you the opportunity to feel sympathy for someone or something outside of yourself. So cry. Let us see your sadness shine through. Show us that grief can coexist alongside the light. And whenever you have found yourself in joy once again, and life brings you another morsel of grief to adventure through, my hope is that you lean in. And for those moments, and for that moment, you let the emotions feel bigger than you. When the wave finally settles, because it always subsides, clarity waits for you on the other side. Whew. Okay, well, another dense ass episode. And if you made it to the end of this, I really do want to thank you for sticking through it. I know it's been a difficult couple of weeks for me, facing the devastation of losing one of our little angels. This is the second dog in my life that has passed on, and it doesn't get any easier. You know what to expect, sure, but the emotions feel you just the same. Their absence matters. And I swear to the gods that after Mercury inevitably departs, I will not be putting myself through this shit ever again. I hope that you who have suffered from the loss of a pet recently leaned into your grief, and that gratitude helps you move through to the other side. I hope that you always remember that you will find peace once again, once the body is finished flowing through its sadness. And I want to say that I love you, Poochie. This episode is dedicated to you, and I hope that you are in the next life being loved and showered with affection, and that you know that you are always in our hearts and we are always thinking of you. And to you, dear listener, I'll see you next time. Ciao.
To my sweet Puchichi, I miss you so much, Puchi. 18 years of unconditional love.
I woke up to feed you and Princess the day after you left us, except that day you weren't there. The next day came and you didn't show up either. I don't know exactly how many days have passed since then, and to be quite honest with you, I often forget what day it is. It's as though I'm living but not at the same time. I guess my body and mind have yet to adjust to your absence, although I don't think that will ever be possible. The house is really empty now that you're gone. It feels very lifeless and just endless in the saddest way possible. No more tippy-tapping of your claws, no more growling at the other dogs, no scratching at the plates, and no kicking at the pee pad when you're done using the bathroom. I miss you. I miss you so much.
I think of you remembering when you were teething, chewing on Nicole's new sandals, or getting into Mommy's dining table to eat Nicole's sandwich. You and Nicole always fighting. I want you to know that you are not a pet to me. You are one of my kids.
I wish I had valued you more and been more present while I still had you. I hope you know how much we loved you and just how much it broke us when you had to leave. It still doesn't feel real, you know? It's as though you're still in Mommy's room sleeping or hiding in her closet. It's as though you're waiting at the top of those creaky steps when I open that old blue door. But you're not. You're not coming to my room and barking at me to feed you. Nor are you creeping around the end of the hallway to stare at me for no reason at all. You're not here for me to smell, not your warm belly, not your stinky breath. You aren't here for me to feel either, not your soft fur, your slimy nose, or your hot breath kisses. Mi viejita linda, mi puchi, my first friend and my first love. It breaks my heart that I will never see you again.
Even though you are gone, you're still in my heart. Thank you for all the love. Your spirit always will be with us. I love you, my Puchichi.
And I only pray that we will be together in the next life and every single one after that. I love you so much.
And we humans have to learn to love like you dogs love us, unconditionally. Always happy to see us, always excited to see us. Love us. I miss you so much, Puchi, and I love you.
Puchi, mi viejita, please rest well.